At my birthday dinner, my mom caused a big fuss, asking for $2,000 after I said no to paying her rent. Then she fibbed about aiding a sick neighbor's child just to get money from me. So I recently landed a job at my aunt's relative's company. It's a good gig, especially since it's only my second job, and the pay is spare. With my salary, I can afford rent and enjoy a comfortable life. But for some reason, my mom thinks I'm suddenly super rich and can help her out financially anytime and for anything. Lately, whenever my mom wants to buy something, she turns to me for the cash. Most times, I agree, even though it's for small stuff that doesn't really matter much if I cover it. Still, it's starting to bug me because she's treating me like a walking bank, and I'm not cool with that. I've been footing the bill mainly because she's my mom. And we're supposed to respect our parents for all they've done. But that's where I draw the line. Then a few days back, she called asking for $2,000 because she was behind on rent and needed a hand. Now, $2,000 is a lot, so I flat out refused. I knew she was working as a music teacher and getting alimony from her ex-husband. Although they never married, he'd been sending child support throughout my childhood. So I figured she could handle her rent without my help. My dad's side of the family was well off, but when I stayed with my mom during her time with me, we lived modestly. I knew she saved money from before, so it didn't make sense that she'd be struggling with rent now. If she was, it was probably due to her own spending habits. She wasn't much of a saver anymore, especially after I moved out. She'd spend freely, believing in the "you only live once" mantra, which often left her broke by the end of the month. I've tried explaining this to her countless times, but she never listens, so I've given up trying. Anyway, I wasn't going to bail her out with the rent. She could manage it herself. When I told her this on the phone, she got upset and accused me of being selfish. I was fine with my decision because I knew it wasn't selfishness. It was just being smart about my finances. I didn't want to start helping her out and then feel obligated to keep doing it forever because my mom has a habit of repeating these kinds of mistakes. We argued about it, and I hung up when she threatened to involve my dad and force me to pay up. I reminded her that my dad wouldn't make me do anything against my will. He respected that I was an adult capable of deciding how to use my own hard-earned money. We didn't speak for a few days, but then she called to apologize for making things awkward about the money. I thought she was going to ask for money again, but she didn't. She expressed her desire to mend things with her daughter, and I accepted her apology because I didn't want to hold on to resentment and further strain our already fragile relationship. So we had a calm conversation, she apologized, and we moved past it. This week, I was celebrating my birthday and invited some relatives, including my aunt, and my parents to a family dinner at my new apartment. Despite my lingering doubts about my mom, I extended an invitation, hoping to reconcile. She came to the party, but her comments about my spacious and lovely apartment sounded sarcastic, indicating she was still harboring resentment from our previous argument. It became evident inviting her had been a mistake. Throughout the evening, she kept highlighting my newfound wealth, my job, and my fancy apartment, implying I might soon feel too superior for my guests. It started off as a joke, and everyone chuckled, thinking she was just proud of her daughter. But as she kept going on about it, the atmosphere turned awkward and uncomfortable. I knew what was really going on, and I wanted to confront her. But I didn't want to spoil my own birthday dinner, so I stayed silent and made a mental note to address it later. Then, to top it off, my mom decided to give a speech. As if her sarcastic jokes weren't enough to make everyone squirm, she stood up and talked about how hard she'd worked to raise me and how now she felt forgotten since I'd become independent. She even brought up the recent incident where I refused to lend her money for rent. She painted a picture of children abandoning their parents once they grew up, lamenting the state of the world where kids seem to have no regard for their parents. Most people didn't seem touched. They just seemed uncomfortable with her overly emotional and dramatic speech. She mentioned that she reached out to me for help because she believed, as her daughter, I would always have her back and she could rely on me. She concluded her message by apologizing once more for her behavior and expressed genuine pride in me. She admitted to wanting just a small amount of assistance because she was attempting to do something good for once in her life, but unfortunately, she had messed it up. Reading her message broke my heart. Despite our strained and difficult relationship, I never wished to exclude her from my life, nor did I harbor everlasting hatred toward her. We were quite close when I was younger, but as time passed and she remarried during my teenage years, our bond weakened. She prioritized her husband over me, which widened the gap between us. While I yearned for the closeness we shared in my childhood, I'm unsure how we could ever return to that after drifting so far apart. Additionally, learning that she was aiding a sick child with medical bills left me conflicted. Had she disclosed this, I wouldn't have hesitated to provide the financial assistance she needed. I feel like this was crucial information I should have known. Presently, I'm consumed with guilt and uncertainty, unsure if I should apologize to my mother. That's why I'm seeking advice. Was I wrong to refuse her rent assistance and subsequently ask her to leave the family dinner at my apartment? Update 1. Hey everyone, I've read through all your comments, and I have to say, you've really helped me see things clearly. I was almost ready to apologize to my mom because she had manipulated me into thinking I was in the wrong. Update 2. Also, about the story of her helping a kid with leukemia. Turns out it was all a lie. She was just trying to manipulate me with a guilt trip, and I can't believe I almost fell for it. After some thought, I remembered that my mom only has two neighbors, an elderly couple with no kids and a single mother. I distinctly recall her son being healthy when I last saw him, just a couple of months ago during a lunch invite from my mom. So I decided to make a call and check on the neighbor's son myself. When I called her to inquire about her son's health, she seemed taken aback by the suddenness of my call. We weren't particularly close, and I only had her number because my mom insisted I save it in case of emergencies, which seemed odd. Despite her evident discomfort, I found myself asking twice if her son was truly okay, which likely made her feel uneasy about my sudden and unexplained interest in his well-being. However, I was determined to uncover the truth. She assured me repeatedly that her son was perfectly fine, though she seemed increasingly uneasy with my persistent questioning. After confirming his well-being once more, she quickly ended the conversation and hung up, understandably wanting to put an end to the awkward exchange. This encounter occurred about 2 days ago, and any lingering guilt I had for confronting my mother in front of our guests vanished upon discovering her deceit. It became clear that she had been bluffing all along, manipulating me into apologizing so she could continue relying on me as her personal ATM. She hadn't reached out to me since her last message, but I decided to block her anyway. Whatever she had to say next, I wasn't interested. I knew it would be the same cycle of gaslighting and manipulation to reconcile, and that was the last thing I needed. I finally found some stability in my life, and I don't want her toxic presence anymore. She's manipulative and self-centered, and I'm done with her. Update 3. Despite my declaration that I'm finished with her, it seems she's not done with me. She's been reaching out to all the family members who were present at the party, urging them to convince me to unblock her. I've received numerous screenshots of her messages, claiming she was just having a rough day and wants to mend our relationship. But everyone sees through her facade. She's pulled this stunt before, blaming her behavior on mental health issues when it seemed like she was fully aware of her actions. My dad advised me not to pay attention to her antics, warning it would only aggravate me. It's tough not to feel angry or want to confront her for closure, but I know it's not healthy, so I'm resisting the urge. My maternal grandparents have also been attempting to reach out to me via email, but I've been categorizing their messages as spam without even bothering to read them. I've never had a close relationship with them because, much like my mother, they've always been a bit odd. Even my mom wasn't particularly close to her parents, so we rarely saw them. The last time I interacted with them was probably months ago during a video call with my mom. I can't even recall the last time I saw them in person. I've been ignoring their emails because I'm certain they're just trying to persuade me to reconnect with my mother. It's puzzling why they're making the effort, considering our lack of closeness. There's no chance of me heeding their messages, especially since I've already blocked my mom. Despite receiving an email from them daily, I've stuck to the routine of marking them as spam without opening them. I've refrained from deleting them in case they contain something important that I may want to reference in the future. Update 4. Hey everyone, I finally decided to open the emails from my mother's parents. And to no surprise, they all revolved around one thing: my mom needing money. They claimed it was for their medical expenses, another fabrication. It seemed they were also in on my mom's scheme to manipulate me into giving her money, possibly hoping to benefit from it themselves. It's a shame my mom couldn't keep her story straight. Otherwise, I might have fallen for it. It's been a week since I last saw her, and thankfully, she hasn't tried to contact me. I confided in my dad, who assured me I made the right decision. I shouldn't feel guilty about cutting ties with her because her